this is a reminder I need to make to my Unitarian friends who watch my commentaries and challenge me with their comments in my YouTube videos. When the Bible uses the term deity, which it doesn't use very often, or a Greek term that equates to divine, something like that, deity, divine, we have to remind ourselves that from a first century worldview, this was not a heavily philosophical argument. They weren't trying to purposely jump into an ontological argument, like an analytical discussion like Dale Tuggy might have, Dr. Tuggy, or something like that, where suddenly they're philosophically describing the ontological makeup of God, his inner nature, and things like that with this phrase divine. From the first century perspective, as far as we can uncover by using not just the Bible, but extra biblical sources that help us understand the language that's being used in the first century, Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, etc. What we can ascertain by the best Greek scholars is that the terms that we interpret as deity or divine were simply words that were chosen to describe a quality or element or attribute of God that was unique to God, something that helped us plug into his essence that was unique and exclusive to God. So that when we say that God is divine or that God is deity, we're describing an attribute that's essential to his nature. It's not something that God takes on. It's something that God is. It's essential to him. It can't be divested from him. It can't be stripped away from him. Rather, to attribute this quality to God or attribute or character trait, you can fill in the blank with whatever adjective you want if you like, but it amounts to the same final point, is that this term is exclusive to God and it's essential to God. And that's the point that the first century authors are trying to make up. So it's proprietary, if you want to use modern terminology, right? It's owned by God and only owned by God. It's copyrighted by God, right? So it's cannot be utilized by someone else or something else. Only God is divine. Only God has divinity, right? He is the only one that's deity. He's the only one. And that's why when we introduce the Son of God and the Spirit of God as also sharing in the divine or deity qualities of God, we're putting them in that same camp and category as the exclusive one and only God. And indeed, this makes them God. It by nature forces them into that particular category, so that we have two categories before us. We have the creature on one hand, and we have the creator on the other hand. Everything falls into those two categories. The created, I can say, not just creature. We have the created and we have the creator. And those are the only two categories that are before us in the Bible. If Jesus is not on the side of creator, then by default, he's on the side of created. Holy Spirit, if he's not on the side of creator, then he's on the side of created, something that was whipped up by God in his mind, etc., etc. So that's what the author is trying to remind us of. In the latter case, both the Son and the Spirit are displayed in equality with the Father, meaning they're on the category of deity or divine. Thus, it would be strange to consider in these texts one of the beings as not having full divinity. That's my reminder to you Unitarians that are constantly trying to school me and tell me that Jesus is a creature, that the Holy Spirit is just an impersonal force. He's a thing that God whipped up in his mind or something like that.